그 자식 어린 거 하나.
There was once a very dishonorable son,
그 자식인데.
and he was living with his
외동아들 딱
widowed mother since childhood.
얼마나 교육시켰는지 뭐 맛있는 거 생각하면 너 먹어.
And because he was her only son, she loved him so much.
뭐 좋은 옷 있으면 너 입어라. 항상 자기는
And if there was anything good, she always gave it to him. Here, eat this. Here, take this. Here, wear this. And she would only eat the bad things, and she would give all the good things to her son. This is incorrect way of educating your children. You should not do this. In our neighborhood, if someone brings food or other nice cake, I taught my children to give the best things to their parents or to the elderly, then they will eat whatever remains. And we must teach them that way. But you know, for children who are only sons, sometimes they are so spoiled. So this mother was the same. Here, eat this, eat that, anything that was good, whether it's food or clothes, the best of everything she gave to him, and she always ate the rotten foods. And when he grew big, even though he's all grown up, he was so spoiled, he would scorn his mother and mistreat her and treat her as nothing. And she became distressed and hurt. I love you so much. How come you treat me like this? She worked so hard at the neighbor's farm, and she was earning a little money, and she put it all together to buy some land. But the son one day sold the land, left home, and went to go make money in the city. And no matter what his mother would say, he just left the house. He didn't care whether she would starve to death or whatever. She begged him, please, just don't go. You can have everything. But he didn't care. He coldly left home. But this mother, she just watched him leave until she couldn't see him any longer. And then she went back to her room. And she collapsed to the floor. And she began to cry. This son went to the city and tried to start business, but he always failed. Later, he ran out of money. He used all the money that he had brought, and he only had a few coins in his pocket. And he would say, why am I so unlucky? What's wrong with me? There's nothing else for me to do, so let me go to a fortune teller. I'll ask that fortune teller, what's wrong with me? And let's see if he can tell me my future. So he went to the fortune teller. The fortune teller said, I see, you failed in all your businesses. There's only one way for you to succeed. You must worship the Buddha who wears his shoes backward and serve with all your heart. Then you'll succeed in whatever you do. Okay, good, now I know what to do. He went to all the mountains looking for all those Buddhist temples. And he would go to the temples and he would ask, is there a Buddha here wearing shoes backwards? And everyone would laugh at him. How is there a Buddha which wears shoes backwards? And he was rejected and he was ridiculed. His feet became blistered, and no matter how much he went around, there was never a Buddha who would wear his shoes backwards. Oh, if I could just find this Buddha who wears his shoes backwards, I would serve and honor him with all my heart, and I'll be successful, but I can't find him. How unlucky I am. Now he had nowhere to go, no one to feed him, no one to clothe him, no one to welcome him. His clothes were all tattered. So now he has nowhere to go. He remembered his mother, who he left at home.
갔어요.
so many years ago.
그때가 이제 드디어 쩔뚝쩔뚝 밤중에
So after starting for many days, he made it back home.
어머니하고 쌀이물 두드렸어요.
And he arrived in the middle of the night,
그 자식이 그렇게
limping.
자기를 버리고 떠난 자식을 위해서 그날부터
He arrived at home and said,
항상
Mother, mother,
반면은 그 집에서
you know this mother,
의다다가
even though his son
혹시 이 자식이 오늘 밤에 돌아오려고
left her
항상
every day,
1년 사찰 그 짓 하고 계신 거예요. 아 그것도 자식이라고
she prepared food for his son, waiting for her son to return.
문을 박차고 나와서
Every day,
달려와서
the whole year long. And as soon as she heard his voice, she said, oh, my son. And she went outside. You made it home. You came here. You're alive. You must be hungry. Here, wait. Let me get food for you. And she was running to the kitchen. And as his son saw her, she saw that she was wearing her shoes backwards. She was too busy to go out to her son. So she didn't even wear her shoes properly. Then he realized, oh, that Buddha is my mother. And he repented. I am such a dishonorable son. And he began to cry. I forsook her. I left her. And he repented. From then on, he served his mother as he would serve Buddha. If there was anything good, mother, here. If he had money, he would buy something for his mother. And everything good for his mother. All the bad things he would eat. And from then on, heaven started to bless him. Later he became a very successful, rich man who married a very good woman and lived very happily. Please, I hope that you will not strive to serve the servants of the Lord or become famous in the world, but serve your parents, honor your parents at home first. They're saying that if children honor their parents, the parents are happy and they are prosperous. If children honor their parents, the parents are happy and everything they do works out well. And this is because God blesses them. But those who fight against their parents, you know, I once went to prison. There was once a man who beat his mother to death. And he was in his 40s too. He even had his own family. And this old mother, after being beaten by her son, she died. She tried to run away, but he tripped her and kept on beating her. And even when those kind of people come into prison, the other prisoners, they beat him up. I guess the people there have a conscience, and they curse him and they beat him. So I said, how can you do that? You have your own son. How could you do that? And he couldn't say a word. That's why I know this world must be destroyed. How will you ever be blessed doing things like that? In the end, he'll only die. Do you think making money is everything? The true blessing is having eternal life. Anyone can make money. So money is not blessing. Once there was a very dishonorable son. He also had a son, but he also had an elderly mother. So this son told his son, hey, you know what? Take your grandmother deep to the mountains and just leave her there. So because his father said so, he said yes. You know, at the time, parents are very scary. They're very cold to their parents. So he just said yes. And he carried his grandmother into the mountains. They used to do that. They used to throw away the elderly, leave them to die deep in the mountains. But this grandmother and grandson, they love each other very, very much. When he was little, this grandmother would give him everything. And even though he didn't love his father that much, he really loved his grandmother. And as this boy took his grandmother to leave her to die, he felt so sorry for her. So he made a plan. Grandmother, yes, it's really nice and warm here and sunny. Will you sit in this grass? And I'll come right back. Okay. And so he left her on a grass field and told her to wait. And he came back home. When he came home, his father was sitting, smoking. Did you throw away? Yes, I did. And he carried his grandmother on this old A-frame carrier. And in front of the father, he was fixing it up again. Hey, why don't you throw that away? It's all old. It's no good. Oh, no, father. I have to fix this up. Later, when you get old, then I'm going to take you and throw you away too. And this father realized that he's going to really do that. Hey, go get your grandmother and bring her back. And you know, those who dishonor their parents, it doesn't matter whether they're young or old. They are foolish. A long time ago, there was a widowed mother who had a son, and this son grew up. But this son really mistreated his mother. Even though he was married and had a child, and he would go to his son and always kiss and hug his baby. And this mother was so sad because her own son was mistreated. But her son kisses and loves his baby. Is that son so beautiful? Of course. I also loved you that much. Really? That's why, that's how foolish those kind of children are. So, if someone has 10 children, when the elderly parents are crying, they can't bear to see their elderly parents cry because they look messy. But even if they have 10 children, even if they all defecate, it doesn't even smell to them. And yet they said the babies are so beautiful. But even though they only have 1 or 2 parents, they don't even want to sit on the same table with them because they are messy and old. That's why there's a saying that if people treated their parents 10% of the way they treated their children, everyone would be filial. Everyone would honor their parents. That's why the people, those kind of people are called sons of vipers. They don't appreciate their parents' love. They are like snakes. They're the same thing. Though they love their children, they despise their parents. Even Christians are like that. There's no difference between Christians and the secular world. In the times of Jesus, the Jewish leaders, even the priests, if they're told to honor their parents, they said, oh, I donated everything to God. I committed everything to God. I don't have anything to honor my parents with. No, I'm not going to do it. God is God, and parents are parents. We must love God, and we must also love our parents as well. There's a saying, if we try to measure our parents' love, it's as high as the heavens. So do you now believe that our Father loved all those people who honored their parents even though they didn't know Jesus? Just as he followed Elijah and Daniel, he loves them and he will take them to heaven even though they don't know Jesus. Now let me tell you about the children who honor their parents in the Bible. Let's not try and believe in Jesus well. Let us first honor our parents, visible gods, first. That's how we can be saved. Moses. Moses was truly an honorable son to his parents. He was taken to the Egyptian palace when he was 12 years old. So he only lived with his mother until 12. But until he was 12, his mother would implore him, when you go to the Egyptian palace, please, don't be attracted by all the luxurious things of the world there.
그런 하나님 성자는 그런
And even if there are many beautiful girls in the palace, you should marry them. You are a son of God. You must keep yourself pure. You must not be defiled by them.
그 12살
Do not worship those idols.
네, 엄마 알겠어요. 아빠 알겠어요. 제가 꼭 그럴게요.
So you
그래서
must
그가
marry a young girl, a young woman
그 음란한 궁전,
who worships God. So
화성 궁전,
he just said,
여기만
okay,
궁전
okay.
사는데도
What do you
이성
think he
문제가
knows? He's
걸리지
very
않고
young. He's only 12.
명예욕이 하나, 이 욕심이 하나 끌리지 않고
But until he was 40 years
한
old,
번만 젊어나면 예급의 임금
he was not
그걸
affected
알지 않고.
by anything.
그 아름다운 기가 막힌 세계
He didn't care about position or power or fame. He was able to overcome all the temptations by the beautiful young women in Egypt and in the palace. They would always come to him, write letters to him, and come to see him, but he didn't give his heart to them. He didn't bow down to the God or the idols there and then compromise with evil. But how did he become like this? It's because he was obeying his parents' words. And as he was trying to obey his parents' words, he was faithful to God. So due to his heart of honoring his parents, he kept himself pure. He made up his mind, when he was 12, I must obey my parents, no matter what. I really respect Moses. You know, do not look at the tapes about Moses made by Americans or Europeans. They're all lies because they are so evil. They make Moses the same. They make it as if Moses kissed the young woman or partied, but it's not true at all. He was truly a righteous man. He was faithful, like a pine tree. If he was really like the way they are shown in the videotapes, then he would have never been used by God. So never watch those videotapes made in the world. I once watched a videotape about Pastor Jugichal. You know, every time there's some videotapes in our neighborhood, I always look at them first to see if they're okay. But I realized that those tapes were okay. But books or tapes made by Americans, we should never look at it. It's not worth looking at it because they are so immoral people. There's lots of killing, murder. There's no benefit of watching those. So when Moses was 12, as he was leaving his parents said, Moses, you are the son of God. Please, do not be tempted. And never forget your God, and you must marry someone who loves God. Do not live a luxurious life. You must only worship your God, not those idols. He said, okay, I will obey. And that determination that he made at 12, he kept until he was 40. The reason why he could live like that was because he had made up his mind to obey his parents' request. That's why our Father poured such great blessings upon such an honorable son. He even allowed him to see him face to face. So those who can obey their parents faithfully can also obey God's words faithfully. Those who can't even obey their parents cannot obey God. Our habits cannot change all of a sudden. And those who can serve only one husband or who can love and keep their chastity to one wife can also serve our Father with the same chastity, with the same heart. So, depending on how a person lives in their daily lives, it determines also how they will worship and follow God. Let's look at Elijah. He was also one who honored his parents. Elijah had no friends. Why? Because he was told, don't make friends with those worldly children. Just farm with us. And so because his parents told him not to make friends with the world, he had no friends. And when those worldly kids would go somewhere, he wouldn't follow them. And when they were going to school, he studied from God. The kids in the world would fight and do bad things, but he was never part of that. And because he kept himself pure, he later became one of the greatest prophets born of a woman. David was the same too. He honored his parents, and that's why he could become king. His elder brothers were very good looking and could become king, but they are always going around with other young people. They were never at home, but David always stayed at home, obeying his parents and working with them. He would say, oh, my older brothers are all disobeying the parents, then how can I disobey my parents? That's why he took care of the sheep. And his job was so dangerous. He doesn't know when the bears, the lions, the tigers would come and try and eat the flock. So he used to always take care of the sheep and obey his parents. And that's why our father made him king of Israel, because he obeyed God just as he obeyed his parents. If he had not made that mistake, that sin with Bathsheba, he would have been a beautiful star. But he made a mistake. And even though he made the mistake, he did not reject our father's punishment and discipline. And because he obeyed and accepted whatever his parents told him to do, he also accepted God's punishment. How about Joseph? His stepbrothers would always do bad things secretly. And so he was worried about them. Father, they're always doing bad things. Please tell them. What if they can't go to heaven? They need to be corrected. This son would only obey whatever his father said, and that's why his father loved him so much that he gave him a beautiful garment of clothes. And even when he was sold to Egypt as a slave, he was watching his father's house until he couldn't see it anymore. And at that time when he was being dragged away to Egypt, he told himself, I must be faithful to the God that I learned from my father. Even though I'm going to Egypt as a slave, I'll only obey what my father has taught me up to now. I'll only serve my God. Because every worship, the father would tell his children to obey God, honor him, be faithful to him. And he remembered that up until he grew up to become prime minister of Egypt. There are many people who cannot even make a firm determination. And God is looking for those kind of young people who know how to make firm resolutions. Those who can't make a firm resolution, doesn't matter if they're 30 or 40 or even older, they're useless. They are different. Those whose hearts are firm as stone are already like that from the young age. So there's no such real thing as growing up. Already from the young age, those whose hearts are set are set. And so because Joseph wanted to obey his parents' word and obey God's word, when he grew up and was tempted by Potiphar's wife, he didn't fall. He knew that if he would only accept her, he would receive glory, power, money, have everything that he wants. Because Potiphar knew Moses' life, he doubted his wife more than he doubted Joseph. But because he couldn't just let him go, he sent him to prison. Or else he should die. Joseph should actually die. Potiphar knew that it was his wife's fault. So Potiphar just sent Joseph to prison. Potiphar could kill Joseph because he's a slave, and he wouldn't even be punished by it. Anyway, in order to obey the words of his father that he heard when he was little, and because of that determination to obey those words, he did not sin. And he became righteous. And because God was so happy with him, he made him as king of Egypt. Pharaoh was just a king in name. But the one who had the power and the authority was Joseph.
천하의 효자입니다.
How about Daniel and his three friends? Daniel's three friends truly honored their parents. They were teenagers when they were dragged to Babylon as captives, and as they were leaving, their parents said, Daniel, Hananiah, Ezra, and Mishael, even though you're taken as captives to Babylon, don't remember to serve the true God who created the heavens and earth. Remember what your names mean. Because the parents gave them names with meaning. Later, when you study Daniel chapter 1, just seeing how the parents named them, you can see how much the parents educated them. So while they were being dragged to Babylon, they said, okay, mother, okay, father, I will obey you. And they went. So it didn't matter. Even if they were being sent to lion's den or to the fire furnace, they didn't disobey. And even though they were teenagers, there were so many temptations. They were good looking, they were smart, so there were many girls who liked them, but they didn't give their heart to them. There are many people who give their hearts to any man, any woman, any young boy, any young girl. Those are truly hopeless. Anyway, that's why our father took care of them, and later Daniel was made prime minister. The king would always listen to Daniel. Actually, the king was the disciple of Daniel. He would only listen to Daniel, no one else. Because every time he listened to him, everything was successful. So, while they were trying to obey their parents' words, they ended up obeying God. And so they became stars in Babylon. Next, John the Baptist. He was truly someone who honored his parents. His father was a priest who came out of theological school. The children of his father's friends all went to the theological school and rabbi school. But his father said, John, all those theological schools are corrupt. Let's just farm with me and we'll study in the countryside. He could have said, no, father, I want to go to the rabbi school like everyone else. And he could have gone. But he obeyed his parents. His parents were old, so he would work with them. And he obeyed and studied from him. Because he was an obedient son, our father used him and made him the greatest prophet ever born of woman. Jesus, he was also one who honored his parents, his mother. Even when he's on the cross, bearing and suffering from such unbearable agony and pain, he said to John, John, this is my mother. Please take care of her. He is going through such unbearable pain. And he's about to die. And he's sweating and dropping blood to the point where he's almost about to lose consciousness. But he asked John to take care of his mother. He was truly a filial son. So if you look throughout the Bible, there's not one dishonorable son, one son or daughter who dishonored their parents that God used. God only uses those who honor their parents. So whenever God chooses his messenger or his son or daughter to be used, he always tests them at home first. Of course, there are some parents who don't educate their children properly, and of course our Father takes care of them, but regardless, the children who honor their parents and obey them will be used by God. So, let's not try and do God's work first. Let's first go home and honor and serve our visible gods before you are called by God. This is what we have to do first before we do God's work and become the servant of God. That way, God calls us and we can be a true servant of God.